game and streaming video. And as you'll see from the title of the video, today I'm going to be talking about the Sony PlayStation 6. And obviously, PS6, it's going to come about. We all know that. But I never really thought about it until recently. Whenever I think of the PlayStation 6, I think, well, why? Because we've only just had the PS5 and it hasn't really done that well. But then you look at it, the PS5 we've had since 2000, so it's 4 years into its life. Apparently sales have done pretty well, and obviously the inevitable is that it'll be succeeded by the PS6. And each console generally has a sort of shelf life of 7 years, so it's understandable that Sony will be probably well into development of the PS6. Because we've got 3 years, and then it should be out 3 years. Yeah, 2 or 3 years, with an expected launch date of November 2027. So Sony like to release or announce it in November time. I'm assuming that's ahead of the holiday season. So we could see the PS6 launch for November 2027. And, well, what do we think of the PS6? Well, we don't know anything about it. It's just going to be a big, faster, more speed increased, better graphics, 8K possibly. It's going to be a speed bumped PS5. Obviously, in between that, you've got the PS5 Pro to come out, which is just going to be a beefed up PS5. But we really need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the PS4. That has not gone away. There are still games being developed for it 4 years into the PS5's life, and I think it's kind of dragged sales down because people are very happy with the PS4, and if people are happy with it, they're not going to upgrade. If they're not going to upgrade, then developers still develop for it, and it's kind of a vicious circle. So when we're talking about the PS6, that's a very, very tricky subject, and it's not something I really thought about. I mean, it's gonna come about unless there's some major issues at Sony and they end up not releasing any more games consoles. Then the PS6 is going to be here in the next few years, and it's the same with Microsoft. They're already talking about the successor to the Series X. But the big thing that we need to talk about in terms of next-gen consoles is what can they bring, because I don't really see a massive jump from the PS4 to the PS5, or the Xbox Series, the Xbox One to the Series, and I think that's some of the reason that sales and the whole just, I don't know how to put it, perception of the gaming world is that the PS4 and the Xbox One were perfectly fine. Why did we need a PS5 that didn't really bring that much, and it's kind of held back by the PS4? So what is Sony going to do with the PS6 that is going to make people want to buy it? They kind of learnt their lesson by giving the PS4 backward compatibility. Could we see the PlayStation 6 offer full backward compatibility between the PS1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5? I don't really know. It's going to have enough beef to be able to cope with those, and there's already rumours that the PS5 could handle those sort of things. And if you look at Microsoft's example, then they do. They try and make each console backward compatible. So things like the Xbox Series X can run Xbox One games, Xbox 360 games, some original Xbox games, and whether that maybe has hindered sales, I don't know, but it does mean that when you move to the next generation, you don't lose all of your games. But we're talking here about the PlayStation 6, a console that is 3 years away. 3 years into, 3 years away from release. So in the next 18 months to 2 years, we should see some more concrete evidence and maybe some marketing materials from Sony about it. And it'd just be very interesting to see the way that they go with it, because do we just need a bigger, beefier machine? I've already spoken in length about this on the current gen of consoles, that the Xbox Series X, it's just a beefier Xbox One. Didn't really bring too much to it. The same with the PS5, it's just a beefier PS4. So there's a whole sort of feeling of stagnation in the gaming world, with only possibly Nintendo bringing new things and innovations. But then again, we've got to see what happens with the Switch 2, which should be in the next few months. Is that just going to be a beefier Switch? And if it is, then they're going to fall into the same trap as, oh, look at this, it can do this, it can do that, it's got this much, this GPU, and it can push this many teraflops. And do people really care about that? Obviously not. Look at the Switch, seriously underpowered, yet a seriously successful console. Look at the PS4, a console that was released 11 years ago and still going strong. 4 years into the PS5, the PS4 is still hanging on. So more power, more beef, fancier graphics, 4K, 8K, HDR, all this doesn't really matter when it comes down to it with gamers and gaming. I mean, it's nice. My son's got a Series X. The graphics on it are astounding, but I've never been one for graphics. I'm more into the gameplay side of it. I think that's what holds you. It's all right being shiny and fantastic and look great, but that soon wears off. So we need to see something from Sony, and it isn't going to be VR, because the PSVR 2 has been even more of a flop than the first one. The rumours of Sony re-entering the portable market, it's a good thing, but I can't see them ditching their main side. So this PSP2 that's being talked about, that's going to be alongside the PS5 and the PS6. It's the PSP2 is supposedly going to run PS5 games in a portable mode, but that's not going to be released for another year or so, or possibly longer, which we'll see a PS6 release. So are people then going to want to run PS5 games? The whole thing with Sony just seems a little bit of a mess. But the one thing I can tell you is that the PS6 will come. More than likely, it's not going to bring anything amazingly new to the table, a fancy new controller, or I don't really know. They've tried the VR side, that's not worked. So just a bigger, beefier PS5. That's at the minute all I can see that they're offering, and that's not going to be enough. The gaming market is becoming so stale with HD remasters and games that just rely heavily on the looks rather than having some substance behind them. So let me know what you think. Could we see a PlayStation 6 in November 2027? And if we do, would you be interested in it? Have you gone from a 4 to a 5, or are you still playing on a 4? Are you kind of skipping this generation and going from a 4 to a 6, which would be a bigger leap and jump in terms of power and gaming? I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. We're going to see a PS6. We know roughly when it will be out. There's every chance that it will come before then, depending on how successful the PS5 ends up being. But the track record of the PS4 is, I can see that still being around in a year or two's time when the PS6. So maybe the PS5 is what I referred to in a previous video as just the PS4 Pro. Pro is just a bumped up PS4, and it just seems like there's nothing new or innovative about the PS5. There's nothing that makes you gonna rush out and buy it, and I can see that same thing happening with the PlayStation 6. What could be new that could to turn this whole gaming market around, that doesn't involve just banging out a more powerful machine? I don't know, but PS6, November 2027. It will be here. Will it be a success? Don't know. PS5, do you class that as a success? Sales figures say it is. Who knows? If I'm sure there'll be more content, more rumours about what Sony's going to bring with the PlayStation 6, and I will keep you updated with those. This is just an initial kind of a ramble, really, about the PlayStation 6 and what it's going to do, and where it could lead us in the gaming world. My prediction is nowhere. It's just going to be another fancy machine, and as much as I like the Sony range, that's all it's ever been. PS1 to the PS2, bumped up graphics. PS3 jumped to HD. PS4, a more fancy PS3. The PS5 is, I'm not even sure that it's a more fancy PS4. And it's stale. The whole gaming market is stale, and we just don't need to see speed bump after speed bump when it comes to new consoles. So hopefully Sony will bring something amazing with the PS6 and really turn this whole sort of gaming market around. If not, it's going to be down to Nintendo to keep everything afloat. Even then, with the Switch 2, we're not sure what's going to happen with that. Link, like, keep your ears open for more PlayStation 6 news. Enjoy.